After 6 years of scrubbing my daughter's floors every Tuesday, washing her designer clothes, and polishing her marble countertops until they sparkled, I overheard her tell her friends that I was basically just the maid. Those words hit me like a freight train, and I realized I'd spent years raising an ungrateful stranger who saw my love as nothing more than free labor. My name is Tamika Johnson, and I'm 55 years old. I've been a devoted mother for 32 years, and I thought I understood what that meant. Sacrifice, unconditional love, and putting your children's needs before your own. But honey, sometimes the very children you'd move mountains for will treat you like you're invisible. I remember the day my daughter Jasmine took her first steps. It was a warm September afternoon in 1995, and she was 10 months old, chubby little legs wobbling, as she reached for me across our tiny living room. "Come to mama, baby girl," I whispered, and when she fell into my arms, giggling and drooling, I knew I'd do anything for this precious child. Back then, we lived in a modest, 3-bedroom house on Maple Street. My husband Robert worked at the auto plant, pulling overtime whenever he could, and I cleaned houses during the day while Jasmine was at daycare. Money was tight, but we were rich in love. Sunday mornings meant pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse, afternoons in the backyard teaching Jasmine to ride her pink bicycle, and evenings cuddled on our secondhand couch watching Disney movies until she fell asleep in my lap. I remember our Saturday morning traditions. Jasmine and I would walk to the farmer's market downtown, her tiny hand in mine as we picked out fresh vegetables for the week. She'd beg for strawberries, and I'd always give in, watching her juice-stained smile as she ate them right there on the sidewalk. Later, we'd come home and cook together. Well, I'd cook while she stood on a step stool, stirring pots and helping by eating half the ingredients. "Mama, when I grow up, I want to cook just like you," she'd say, flour in her hair and chocolate on her cheeks. "Baby girl, you can do anything you set your mind to," I'd tell her, never imagining how those words would come back to haunt me. Robert and I sacrificed everything for Jasmine's future. When she got accepted to State University, we took out a second mortgage on the house. I picked up extra cleaning jobs, working 7 days a week, coming home with aching joints and chemical burns on my hands from harsh cleaning products. But seeing Jasmine in her cap and gown at graduation, knowing we'd given her opportunities we never had, it felt worth every sacrifice. She landed a great job at a prestigious marketing agency right after college. Then she met David, a successful financial advisor with a warm smile and good manners. He treated her like a queen, and more importantly, he respected her mama. When he asked for Jasmine's hand in marriage, he came to Robert and me first, sitting nervously in our living room while explaining how much he loved our daughter. Their wedding was everything Jasmine had dreamed of, a fairy tale ceremony at the country club with 300 guests, a 7-layer cake, and a honeymoon in Italy. Robert and I went into debt to help pay for it, but seeing our baby girl so happy made every penny worth it. When Jasmine and David bought their dream house, a sprawling colonial in the exclusive Willowbrook subdivision, I was bursting with pride. My little girl had made it. The house had 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a gourmet kitchen with granite countertops, and a 3-car garage. It was everything I'd ever dreamed of giving her and more. "Mama, would you mind helping me get organized when we move in?" she asked sweetly during one of our weekly phone calls. "You know how good you are at making everything perfect, and I'm just so overwhelmed with the new job promotion and everything." Of course I said yes. What mother wouldn't help her daughter settle into her new home? That first week, I spent 4 days at her house, unpacking boxes, organizing her walk-in closets by color and season, and deep cleaning every surface. Jasmine was so grateful, hugging me tight and telling me she didn't know what she'd do without me. "You're the best mama in the world," she said, tears of happiness in her eyes. "I'm so lucky to have you." But somehow, those 4 days became a weekly arrangement. Every Tuesday, I'd drive the 30-minute trip to Willowbrook and spend 8 hours cleaning Jasmine's house from top to bottom. At first, It made perfect sense. She was adjusting to her promotion, working long hours, and David traveled frequently for business. They needed help getting established in their new routine. Just until we figure everything out, she'd say when I'd mention maybe cutting back to every other week. Just until things calmed down at work. But things never calmed down. If anything, the cleaning list got longer. It wasn't just basic housekeeping anymore. It was washing and ironing their clothes, deep cleaning bathrooms with a toothbrush, organizing kitchen cabinets, polishing silver, and scrubbing baseboards. I found myself bringing my own cleaning supplies because theirs weren't professional quality enough. I started noticing small things that bothered me, like how Jasmine would leave dirty dishes piled in the sink all week, knowing Tuesday was coming. Or how she'd drop her expensive clothes on the bedroom floor instead of putting them in the hamper, as if she knew someone else would handle it. "Jasmine, honey," I said gently one Tuesday, gathering designer dresses from her closet floor. "Maybe you could hang these up when you take them off. Some of these dresses cost more than I make in a month." She waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, Mama, you worry too much. Besides, you're so much better at taking care of nice things than I am. I'd probably ruin them." The months turned into years. 2 years became 3, then 4, then 5. Every Tuesday, without fail, I'd make that drive to Willowbrook. My friends started asking questions. "Tamika, don't you think Jasmine should hire professional help by now?" my best friend Carol asked during our monthly lunch. "She's making 6 figures, and you're not getting any younger." "She's my daughter," I'd say defensively. "Family helps family." "But baby, you've been helping for 5 years now. When does helping become enabling?" Robert was getting concerned too. At 58, he was talking about retirement, dreaming of traveling and enjoying our golden years together. But every Tuesday, I was exhausted from a full day of hard physical labor. "Tamika, your back is hurting you more and more," he'd say, watching me soak in Epsom salt baths after my cleaning days. "Maybe it's time to have a conversation with Jasmine about hiring someone." "She needs me," I'd insist, even as I popped ibuprofen for my aching joints. But I was starting to notice changes in my daughter that worried me. She'd become demanding, critical even. If I missed a water spot on her bathroom mirror, she'd point it out with a sigh. If I folded her towels wrong, she'd refold them in front of me without saying a word, but her disappointment was clear. "Mom, could you make sure to use fabric softener on our sheets from now on?" she'd say without looking up from her phone. "David says they feel rough when you don't." When had my relationship with my daughter become so transactional? The moment that changed everything happened on a Tuesday in October. I'd been cleaning Jasmine's house religiously for 6 years by then. 6 years of sacrificing my Tuesdays, of aching backs and chemical-burned hands, of driving 60 miles round trip to scrub toilets and mop floors. I was in their master bathroom, scrubbing their oversized jetted tub with bleach, when I heard voices downstairs. Jasmine was hosting her book club that afternoon, and I'd promised to be finished and out of the way before the ladies arrived. But they were early, and their voices carried up through the house's open floor plan. "Jasmine, your house is absolutely spotless," I heard one woman say. "How on earth do you manage it with your crazy work schedule?" I smiled to myself, thinking Jasmine would talk about how blessed she was to have family who cared enough to help out. Maybe she'd even mention how grateful she was for her mama's support. Instead, what I heard made my blood freeze in my veins. "Oh, I have a maid who comes every Tuesday," Jasmine said casually. "She's super reliable and really thorough. Plus, she works for free because she's family." The women laughed appreciatively, and another voice chimed in. "Free help is the best help. Where did you find her?" "It's actually my mom," Jasmine continued, and I could hear the amusement in her voice. "She started helping out when we first moved in, and now it's just become her thing. Honestly, she's better at cleaning than anyone I could hire, and, like I said, it doesn't cost me anything. That's brilliant, another woman said. My mother-in-law is always asking how she can help. Maybe I should put her to work too. They all laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. I stood there in their pristine bathroom, rubber gloves on my hands, bleach burning my nostrils, feeling like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until it stopped beating. Maid. That's what I was to my own daughter. Not a loving mother who'd sacrificed everything for her child's success. Not a grandmother-to-be who deserved respect and gratitude. Just free labor. Just the maid. But the worst part was yet to come. The only downside, Jasmine continued, and I could practically hear her shrugging, is that she's getting older and sometimes she misses spots or doesn't clean as thoroughly as she used to. I've been thinking about maybe finding an actual professional and just transitioning her out. Awkward, one of the women said. How do you fire your own mother? Right? It's tricky. But honestly, she's basically just the maid at this point. It's not like we have these deep mother-daughter bonding sessions while she's here. She comes, cleans, and leaves. So maybe it won't be that big of a deal. I dropped the scrub brush into the tub, the sound echoing off the marble walls like a gunshot. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't pick it up. 6 years. 6 years of pouring my love into maintaining her perfect life. And this is how she saw me. As disposable help that wasn't even doing a good enough job anymore. I somehow managed to finish cleaning that bathroom, my hands moving on autopilot while my heart shattered into a million pieces. I could hear the book club ladies downstairs, laughing and chatting about their perfect lives, while I, the maid, scrubbed their hostess's toilet. When I finally gathered my cleaning supplies and headed downstairs, Jasmine was in the kitchen with her friends, sipping wine and sampling fancy cheese. She looked up at me like I was interrupting something important. "Oh, Mom? You're done already?" "Great. Could you just wipe down the kitchen counters before you go?" I spilled a little wine earlier. Her friends watched me with polite smiles, probably thinking what a convenient arrangement Jasmine had, a built-in cleaning service that worked for free. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my cleaning bucket down and tell them all exactly what I thought of their entitled attitudes. Instead, I quietly wiped down the counters that were already spotless and headed for the door. "Thanks, Mom," Jasmine called out without even looking at me. "Same time next week?" I didn't answer. I couldn't trust my voice. The drive home felt like the longest 30 minutes of my life. I pulled into my driveway and sat in my car for 20 minutes, crying until I had no tears left. Robert found me there when he got home from work. "Baby, what's wrong?" he asked, opening my car door and kneeling beside me. Through broken sobs, I told him everything I'd heard, about being called the maid, about being transitioned out because I wasn't good enough anymore, about 6 years of my life being reduced to free labor that wasn't even appreciated. Robert's face went through a series of emotions, confusion, disbelief, and finally, pure anger. "That ungrateful little," he started, then caught himself. "Tamika, I am so sorry. I should have put a stop to this years ago when I saw what it was doing to you." "I thought I was helping my daughter," I whispered. "I thought I was showing her love." "You were, baby. But she took advantage of that love, and that's on her, not you." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every Tuesday for the past 6 years, seeing them all in a new light. Every time Jasmine had criticized my cleaning, every time she'd added something new to my list, without asking, every time she'd called me at the last minute to ask if I could come early or stay late, because she was having company. I thought about all the things I'd given up for those Tuesdays. The book club Carol had invited me to join, that met on Tuesday afternoons. The part-time job at the library that I'd turned down because they needed someone available Tuesdays. The doctor's appointments I'd rescheduled, the lunch dates with friends I'd canceled, the quiet Tuesdays at home with Robert that I'd sacrificed. For what? To be someone's unpaid, unappreciated maid? The next morning, I called in sick to my regular cleaning job. I needed time to think, to process, to figure out what I was going to do. Robert made me coffee and sat with me at our kitchen table, the same table where Jasmine used to do her homework while I cooked dinner. "What are you thinking, baby?" he asked gently. "I'm thinking I've been a fool," I said. "I'm thinking I raised a daughter who sees me as disposable help instead of her mother." "So, what do you want to do about it?" I looked around our modest kitchen, the one I'd neglected for years while maintaining Jasmine's perfect house. Our cabinets needed painting, our appliances were outdated, our life had been put on hold while I played servant to someone who didn't even see me as family. "I want my life back," I said quietly. I didn't go to Jasmine's house the following Tuesday. For the first time in 6 years, I stayed home. I painted my kitchen cabinets, organized my own closets, and enjoyed a peaceful day in my own space. My phone started ringing around noon. "Mom, are you okay? You're not here." Jasmine's voice sounded confused, maybe even a little panicked. "I'm fine, honey. I'm at home." "But it's Tuesday. Did you forget? Did I forget? Like I was some employee who'd missed a scheduled shift?" "No, Jasmine, I didn't forget. I chose not to come." There was a long pause. "What do you mean you chose not to come? Are you sick?" "I'm not sick. I just decided I have better things to do with my Tuesdays." "But Mom, I have David's boss coming for dinner tomorrow night, and the house isn't clean." And there it was. Not, "Are you okay, Mom?" or "Is everything all right?" Just panic about her dirty house. "Then I guess you'll need to clean it yourself, or hire someone," I said, calmly. "Hire someone?" "Mom, what's gotten into you? This is so unlike you." "Maybe it's time I started being more like myself and less like your unpaid help." Another long pause. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I heard what you said to your book club last week, Jasmine." The silence on the other end was deafening. "You called me the maid," I continued, my voice getting stronger. "You said I was just someone who comes, cleans, and leaves. You talked about firing me like I was an employee instead of your mother." "Mom, I didn't mean—" "You said I was getting old and not cleaning well enough anymore. You wondered how to transition me out, because I was just basically the maid at this point." I could hear her breathing, but she wasn't speaking. "For 6 years, I've given up my Tuesdays to maintain your perfect life. I've sacrificed my own health, my own plans, my own happiness, to scrub your toilets and wash your clothes. And you reduced all of that love to free maid service that wasn't even good enough anymore?" "Mom, please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain, Jasmine. You showed me exactly how you see me, and I finally believe you." I hung up the phone and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Free. Robert came home early that day and found me in our garden, planting flowers I'd bought for the first time in 6 years. "How do you feel?" he asked, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "Like I've been holding my breath for 6 years and can finally breathe again." Jasmine called 17 times that day. She texted me, begging me to call her back, saying there had been a misunderstanding. But there was no misunderstanding. I'd finally seen the truth, and the truth had set me free. The next Tuesday, I joined Carol's book club. The Tuesday after that, I volunteered at the local animal shelter. I started taking art classes on Tuesday evenings and discovered I had a talent for watercolor painting. I began living my own life instead of maintaining someone else's. Jasmine hired a professional cleaning service, just like I'd suggested years ago. She called me crying when she got the first bill, $300 for what I'd been doing for free. "Mom, they want $300 every time they come. That's over $1,000 a month. That's what professional cleaning costs, honey." "But you did it for free." "I did it for love." There's a difference. 3 months passed without a single Tuesday at Jasmine's house. 3 glorious months of reclaiming my life, my time, and my dignity. I was happier than I'd been in years, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. This was still my daughter, the little girl I'd carried for 9 months and loved unconditionally for 32 years. Robert watched me carefully during those months, making sure I was healing rather than just burying my pain. He'd find me sometimes, staring at old photos of Jasmine as a child, and he'd sit with me quietly, holding my hand. You did everything right as a mother, he'd remind me. What she became as an adult is her choice, not your failure. But the hardest part wasn't missing Jasmine. It was wondering if I'd ever have a relationship with my future grandchildren. What would she tell them about their grandmother, who used to help around the house, but didn't anymore? Would they even know me as family? Or would I just be a stranger who disappointed their mother? The call came on a Thursday evening in January. Jasmine's number flashed on my phone, and for a moment, I considered letting it go to voicemail like I had so many times before, but something made me answer. Mom? Her voice was different, smaller, more vulnerable than I'd heard in years. Hello, Jasmine. Can we talk? Please? In person? I looked at Robert, who nodded encouragingly. Where? Can you come to the house? I know that's asking a lot, but no, I said firmly. If you want to talk to me, you come to my house. You come to where you grew up, where your mother lives. There was a pause. Okay, can I come now? An hour later, I heard a car in our driveway. Through the window, I watched Jasmine sit in her car for several minutes before finally getting out. She looked smaller somehow, less confident than the polished professional who'd been giving me cleaning instructions for 6 years. When I opened the door, I saw something I hadn't seen in her face since she was a teenager. Uncertainty, vulnerability, and what looked like genuine remorse. Hi, Mom, she said, quietly. Come in. We sat in my living room, the same room where she'd taken her first steps, where we'd watched countless Disney movies, where she'd shown me her prom dress and wedding invitation. But now we sat like strangers, careful and distant. Mom, she started, then stopped, looking down at her hands. I've been doing a lot of thinking since you stopped coming. I waited. The cleaning service I hired? They're impersonal, cold. They come in, clean efficiently, and leave without saying a word. And I realized that's how I treated you, like hired help instead of my mother. That's exactly how you treated me, Jasmine. She flinched at my direct response, but I wasn't going to sugarcoat the truth anymore. I know, and I'm ashamed of myself. Tears started flowing down her cheeks. Mom, you sacrificed everything for me my whole life. You worked multiple jobs to pay for my college. You went into debt for my wedding. You spent your retirement years scrubbing my floors, and I... Her voice broke. I called you the maid. Yes, you did. I don't know when I became so entitled, so selfish. When I stopped seeing you as my mother and started seeing you as someone who was just supposed to take care of me forever. I studied her face, looking for sincerity beneath the tears. When did you realize this, Jasmine? When you got the cleaning bill? She laughed bitterly. That was part of it, yes. $1,200 a month for what you did out of love. But it was more than that. Last week I was sick with the flu, and I was lying in bed feeling sorry for myself, wishing someone would take care of me. And I realized you would have. The old you would have dropped everything and come over with soup and medicine and stayed until I felt better. But I destroyed that relationship. I turned my mother into an employee, and now I have no one. You have David. David's been traveling more lately, and even when he's home. She shrugged helplessly. He's a good husband, but when I'm sick, I want my mama. Except I don't deserve my mama anymore. The word mama hit me like a punch to the chest. She hadn't called me that in years. What do you want from me, Jasmine? I asked quietly. I want to try to earn back your love, she said. I want to be your daughter again, not your employer. I want to learn how to have a real relationship with you instead of a transactional one. It's going to take time, I said. 6 years of damage doesn't heal overnight. I know, and I'm willing to do the work. Real work, not just apologizing and expecting everything to go back to normal. What does that look like to you? It means I need to learn how to take care of my own house. It means I need to stop seeing you as someone who exists to make my life easier. It means I need to start investing in our relationship instead of just taking from it. She took a shaky breath. Mom, I fired the cleaning service. I raised an eyebrow. Not because I want you to come back and clean, she said quickly. Because I need to learn how to maintain my own life. David and I are going to figure it out together, like adults should. Good. And I was wondering, hoping that maybe we could start over. Maybe we could have lunch together sometimes, or you could teach me some of your recipes, or we could just talk, like mothers and daughters do. I looked at this woman, my daughter, sitting in my living room, finally seeing me as a person instead of a service. It would take time to trust her again, to believe this change was real. But she was still my child, and I could see glimpses of the little girl who used to help me cook and beg for strawberries at the farmer's market. We can try, I said finally, but things will be different now. I'm not your employee, your maid, or your on-call helper. I'm your mother, and I deserve to be treated with respect. Yes, ma'am, she said, and for the first time in months I saw a real smile cross her face. And if I come to your house, it's as a guest, not as the cleaning lady. I understand. And if you ever take my love for granted again, if you ever reduce me to hired help in your mind, I will walk away and not look back. I'm too old, and I've worked too hard to be anyone's doormat. I promise, Mom. I promise I'll do better. 6 months later, Jasmine and I have lunch every other week now. She's learning to cook, calling me for advice on how to make gravy and asking for family recipes. She started bringing David over for Sunday dinners, and slowly, we're rebuilding what we lost. She's different now, more humble, more appreciative. When she thanks me for small things like lending her a serving dish or giving her cooking advice, I can tell she means it. She's learning to value relationships over convenience. Last month, she called me crying because she'd attempted to deep clean her bathroom and realized how much work it actually was. Mom, I'm so sorry, she sobbed over the phone. I never understood how hard you worked. My back is killing me. My hands are raw, and I only cleaned one bathroom. You did my whole house every week for 6 years. Now you know, I said simply. I will never take that kind of love for granted. Again. Robert and I are planning a cruise for next year. Something we talked about for decades, but never did because I was always too busy taking care of everyone else. Jasmine insisted on helping pay for it. It's not charity, she said when I protested. It's a small way to pay back all the years you sacrificed for me. I'm proud of the woman my daughter is becoming, but I'm prouder of the woman I've become. I learned that love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's enabling. I learned that being a good mother doesn't mean sacrificing your dignity to make your child's life easier. Most importantly, I learned that it's never too late to stand up for yourself, even when the person taking advantage of you is someone you love. Some people will mistake your kindness for weakness and your love for servitude, but the moment you stop accepting less than you deserve is the moment you teach them the difference between a mother and a maid.